I think that they should reach out to the people who represent them and let them know what they think is working and not working. Let them know, or ask them, saying, "Hey, this is an issue. What are you doing about it?" Create that relationship, because what that does is that makes sure that we are focusing on the things that matter and not this other crap.
She's got a fake boyfriend. He lives in LA. Says she met him online. I mean, what else can I say? Said he'll visit next May, but that's hard to believe, cause he works in a cafe and playing tickets ain't free. Says he's in school. He's doing big things. He'll be the best welder this world's ever seen. God, I sound like an asshole. I don't mean to be mean. It's just when we talked, you had bigger dreams. I know, I drag my feet and did you wrong. No one on this earth deserves the weight upon my love is wrong. I never told you sorry, so I gotta put it in the song. My nightmares, they haunt me. I know, I drag my feet and did you wrong.
Podcast and stuff we just started. Who am I here with today?
My name is Diego Bernal, and I could follow that with a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, who is Diego Bernal?
Diego Bernal is a neighborhood guy from San Antonio, who just so happens to be a state rep, who just so happens to be a lawyer, and who just happens to be a musician.
So that's how I first know about you, because of the music stuff.
Music, right? I know people watching are like, this dork. Like, yeah, I know. You
how long have you known like Ernest, like Ernest Gonzalez?
So Ernest and I met, I think like maybe in 2007.
Okay.
I think around then, 2007, 2006, 2008, right around there.
All right. I asked that because I feel like, when do you start making music? Like, what year you think?
I started making music when I was in college, so I guess maybe 96.
Oh, okay, so
97.
Long before that,
but I didn't. I mean, that was just for me.
Yeah.
Just to see if I could do it.
Both of you guys strike me in like. Obviously, I know him way more than you, but yeah, both. Most people who do music, we tend to like have these bigger dreams and stuff, and I feel like both of you guys definitely shifted towards music's always going to be a part of my life, but we're going to try to do something for San Antonio, And like, was that always there, or because you might be like the only two who I know who are like that, who not just San Antonio, but like instead of like music being the priority and screw everything else, like you kind of put it in its place. And
well, I mean, I can't speak for Ernest.
But he has his own way of that, like, music's in its own place, and he's going to do what's right for what he believes is right in San Antonio,
Right. I think that when you care about people or the city the way that he and I do, it's hard to go all in on one thing where that's not part of it. And also, in all fairness to other people, younger people, we're older.
Yeah.
Right. So our lives are in different places. And also, we're making electronic or beat music in San Antonio. It's hard to make a living doing those, having those two things together at the same time. But, Ernest, remember, he's an educator at heart. He's a musician, he's an artist, he's an educator. And so I think that he's always trying to find ways to give back and help people and contribute to his community. And, I'm a civil rights attorney. I'm a civil rights guy. That's my wiring. And so I think that the beauty of it is trying to do it all, not having to pick one.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the thing. It's not, to me, it's not so much that you put music off to the side or you don't care about it as much as you resist and sort of reject the notion that you have to choose one. Right?
Yeah.
Why not do as much as you can?
I feel like that's where I am right now, because you mentioned being older. Like, did that come in your older age where you're like, all right, let me put it in its place? Or did you always like kind of do that? Because me, I'm like, I feel like I'm at that point where you need to like move on or maybe like put it in its place. Same thing.
When I went to college, a big part of it was, college was something that I always wanted to do. It was important to my family. I recognized when I got to college that the people I was in school with weren't any smarter than the kids I went to Brackenridge or Tafoya or Jefferson with.
Yeah.
So I always felt like I had to give back in a more substantial way, and I had to give back. I had to spend most of my time giving back. Music was sort of for me. So there's sort of like a public part of your life where you sort of exist for other people or other things, and then there's a part of your life that's just for you, and that's the music part. So, you know, I felt like I had to spend more of my time doing the giving back part, but I didn't want to give up the music. And also, let's be honest, it's not like, you know, when I was making music in the mid 90s, I wasn't like, this is great, I've got a career here. I was thinking, this is fun and I like it, and I feel good when there's a song that's finished, but I never thought I was any good.
Yeah.
Ernest is the person who said, you know, you probably should put an album out and see how that goes. But before then, it was just a bunch of songs for Diego to be like, yeah. You know, I did that.
I think because growing up in hip hop, I think me and my friends probably had a lot of delusions of grandeur, because the classic tale in there, sometimes it feels like a lot of them didn't even want to do music so much as it's somebody that they stumbled on and it was their way out.
Sure.
So I think a lot of us kind of, yeah, we liked music, but we were looking for the way out, and that looked like, okay, this looks somewhat attainable, even though it's just as hard, but on the surface level, doing it is the easy. Getting the fan base and all that other stuff might be the part we don't think about, and that part's really hard. But doing the music and everything else is kind of relatively easy, you know, for a lot of us.
Well, I mean, I think it's easy. It's easy for some people. I always struggled with it, right? I mean, if you count, I put out like a record like every 3 years, right? It's not. I'm like Sade.
Well, at this point, though, I would understand why you're only doing 3 years.
Right? Because you're old.
Well, not because you're old, but like we just started out.
You got stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be a house rep talking about, well, hold up, I gotta make this beat though.
I should try. Trust me. There's actually a moment. There's a picture I took where we were on the house floor.
Yeah.
And they were taking a super long break, like a 2 or 3 hour break.
Oh.
And I pulled out my laptop and started working on like I'm trying to find a snare drum.
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of the floor. There's a picture somewhere. I'll find it. But yeah, I get it. I get it that people approach it for different reasons in different ways. I don't know if Ernest remembers this, but like to that point, there was a moment in 2010, I think, where we had to decide whether or not I was going to run for city council, which, by the way, was Ernest's idea.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Even this part of it.
Yeah. I was going to run for city council, or we were going to try and do a club tour in Tokyo.
Oh.
We had a couple of connects in Tokyo. I had a friend who lived there, and we had another guy who knew a bunch of club owners and was a rep for a label. And we were trying to put together maybe a tour of Tokyo, but that was the same time as like the filing deadline and the campaign for city council. So we had to decide what we were going to do. And we chose city council, which is awesome, right? Because we won.
You say it's so sad though.
But I mean, I still think about that trip we didn't take.
Yeah.
Right? I still think about what we didn't do.
See, and that's why I started off like that, because I feel like he has a lot of his own stories, and I just assumed like you had your own of that, and that there was always an opportunity to be bigger, better in the music, and he would always just choose not that. He would always choose the other thing, you know, in service of, and then enter whatever it is.
Right. One thing about Ernest I really respect is that, you know, he has a very distinct artistic vision for himself and his music, and he's really not willing to compromise that. And I think this is probably true for most musicians. There are shortcuts to being more successful.
Yeah.
And usually it means kind of putting forth a version of yourself that's not honest.
Yeah.
Right? That's altered in some way. And I've always respected the fact that he never did that.
I still can't bring myself to make trap music. I don't care if it's the number one thing right now.
Right. Like, you know, triplet hi-hats is not for everybody, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll sprinkle that, but my overall sound, like, look, because I was like, I'm using a hi-hat everywhere. I'm using a hi-hat already, so I don't mind using that rhythm. But everything else, I don't need like 808s all over the place and all this other junk.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I feel like the old guy because I feel like they just find like the theme music for The Omen or some
Yeah.
other scary movie
Yeah.
and they just loop it and then put a bunch of drums on it. Right?
Yeah.
It just sounds like a scary soundtrack and then a bunch of drums. Look, I like it though.
Oh, okay.
You know, I don't like all of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and the emceeing or the rapping or whatever you call it, these kids singing lullabies through the vocoder, like I don't understand all of it.
Yeah.
But you know, if I'm being honest, I'm probably a hood rat at heart. You know, we did military drive in Brackridge Park back in the day, and so
Yeah.
we listened to terrible music, but only because it bumped so hard.
Is that a if you have to run for re-election in the future or a higher office, like put that under your motto, hood rat at heart?
Yes. Yeah, that'll play well in some areas. And you should know I'm also a hood rat at heart.
How is it opening up for Bonabo, if I'm saying that right? I mean, Bonobo.
It was cool. I mean, you know, we'd never played in a venue like that. I hadn't. Maybe he has.
Yeah.
We never played in a venue like that before. You know, to get the ask to open was really kind of cool and an honor for us. You know, Ernest has done really well. I'm pretty small time. The only thing about it that was tough is that I guess there's a thing that I don't think it's the promoter. I think more been like the headliner's crew will do, where if let's say you've got 4 acts, the first act is at one volume, the next act is a little higher,
They still do that?
the next act is a little higher, and then the main act is
Yeah.
at the highest volume. So there were 3 of us, and you know we're used to hearing our stuff really loud. It's got it's got bass in it.
Yeah.
And so when we finally got up there, it wasn't as loud as even the sound check.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was a little bit
Bummed. Yeah.
for a minute, but then you realize this is awesome. On this stage, I'm surrounded by all of his equipment,
Yeah.
right? All his 18 Ableton rigs and all the
boy
MIDI
stuff.
controllers. Yeah. And the place is beautiful and there are people here. And so you just forget about it and go on with it. It was cool, man. It was cool. It was neat.
Right. So I get that it was Ernest's idea to start this path for you.
Yeah.
But did you have any aspirations on your own?
No, I was very happy being a civil rights lawyer. I was suing states left and right. I was working on school finance and voting rights and representing day laborers and farm workers. But what happened was my dad got really sick. He lived in the valley. He got really sick, and so I had to quit my job to go and spend time with him. And so I was there with him for a while, like 3, 4, 5 months. You know, I lived there for a while in the valley.
Yeah.
And when I came back, this is right when the economy had just bottomed out. I mean, the recession had hit. Everybody was losing their jobs, and nonprofits, well, they didn't have any money, and they weren't hiring. They were getting rid of people. So I couldn't find a job that involved the kind of law that I want to do. You know, I don't want to do divorces or help
Yeah.
trillionaires fight over billions. You know, there's plenty of folks for that. And I could not find it. I could not find a job. And so, you know, one of the interesting things about going to Tafoya and Jefferson when I did was that I was in school with the twins, with the Castro twins, Joaquin and Julian. And so I called them and said, hey, can we get together and have coffee? Because maybe you guys know of something else that's out there that I'm not really
Privy to, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, and when we got together, they were sort of going through a few things, but they also said, you know, that Mary Alice Cisneros, who was my predecessor, she's termed out. Like her term is ending and she can't run again, so the seat's open. What do you think about that? And they had kind of been needling me to run for something for a while, and I'd always told them no.
So I feel like the world knew that you need to do this, except you.
I don't know, maybe I don't know. And I was like, you know, that's interesting. But then when I went and talked to Ernest about it, you know, he and his wife Devin were excited and encouraging and really just kind of way more into it than I was and than I thought people would be. And while we're sitting there in his living room talking about it, and he's, you know, tapping away at his keyboard on his computer, and then he calls me over to the screen, and he's already made my campaign logo.
Oh, wow.
while I'm sitting there, trying to figure out what my life is. And so the main sign that I use is one that he designed.
Wow.
And so once you see it like that, you just it kind of made it real.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah. It's like manifested itself.
But it also meant that the people whose opinions meant the most to me were on board. And I guess that's really what I needed. It wasn't the sign. It was the fact that these people, Ernest, Devin, Joaquin, and Julian, that these were folks who thought that it's not a complete space cadet idea.
Yeah. It's feasible.
I think that there was something very, very, that was very meaningful to me. And then off we went. We just started.
So that would be, because you start with the city council, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was this one your idea, this part now, where you're at right now, or no?
Kind of, I think it had more to do with the issues. Okay. I recognize that being a state rep is not as sexy as being a city council person, and it's not as sexy as being a congressperson. It's sort of in the middle. But the issues are what I care the most about. So I love city council. I love working on the city and sidewalks and streets and public art and stray dogs and all the really cool and amazing things that they do at the city level. But coming from a civil rights background, public ed, higher ed, public health, those were the things that I was sort of cut my teeth on, that I'm wired for. And so when this seat opened up, I saw it more as an opportunity to go and spend my time going back to the work that I really love and care about.
Yeah.
And not that I didn't care about the other stuff. It's just that, I'm wired for this kind of policy. I'm also wired for a fight. I'm more comfortable in a fight. It's hard for me to be nice to people all the damn time. So I'm more comfortable when I'm standing up for something and for someone. To the city's credit, they make it pretty easy to get stuff done, and I admire that. But they're good people to do that right now. This goes back to my civil rights attorney days. I feel like I'm in that environment again. So I saw this as a chance to go back to what I knew.
Yeah.
Even though it was sort of a step. I mean, on the ladder, it's a step up, but it's a sort of step out of the spotlight.
It's more parallel, like
I'm fine with
transition.
it.
Yeah. But it uses your passion skill set,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more.
It's funny. I was looking at a resume of an intern or potential intern yesterday, and she's great, but on her list of skills, one of the things was empathy. I was like, is that really a skill we're putting on a resume now? but in today's day and age, I think it really is. Right? I think, like, saying one of the things that makes me who I am is that I care very much about other people. Yeah, I'm into it. So
yeah, man, I'm playing with resumes these days, and I don't even know how to approach those things these days.
You can talk to my chief of staff. She'll tell you what a good one and a bad one is. She'll help you out.
There we go. That'll be the next podcast. I'll be like, this one's only on resumes.
Resume building.
Yeah. So help me out. Save Abraham. So since this one's using your passion and skill set, you think you'll hang around here for a while, or in the future you might try to climb the ladder? Or
I don't know, man. I mean, I think that, look, every politician kind of looks
to the skies.
They can. I think they all need to be a little more realistic, right? Like, there's only one president.
Yeah.
But I've also found that being preoccupied with the future makes you timid in the present. Like, if you're always worried about your future, it makes you a coward.
And lose focus and stuff.
You lose focus, and you lose like ganas, right? You lose that sort of deliberate drive. You can lose it.
Yeah.
And so I've really tried to not think about it too much, and also to tell myself, like, maybe this is where I stay. Like, maybe this is the spot. Maybe this is as far as I go. Cool. Like, that's not bad. That's awesome. And so let's treat it like it's something where we can really do some good work and make some change and and push really hard, because otherwise I'm supposed to be doing a job, but half the time I'm spending trying to get out of the job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's not really fair to anybody.
And it seems that way when you see a lot of these, anytime, obviously the more popular campaigns like presidents and stuff, but sometimes it seems like, man, how much those things stretch over for like a year and a half. Sometimes it's like, damn, it's like you're getting paid to run, you know?
Right. And look, I'm not saying I'll never run for something else. Like, I'm not saying, but you know, if the opportunity shows itself, that's when you think about it. Otherwise, let's just do the job and hope that the work we do here either keeps us here or tees us up for whatever the next thing is. But if you've always got your sights on it, you're kind of like half yourself.
Yeah.
I'll also say this. You know, I feel like the notion that we're always moving around means that there's a lot of work not getting done because we're always moving around. And I'm not, look, when Julian Castro left, I was one of the dominoes to fall. Like, I get that I moved. But if we all just sort of stop and said, let's not do anything but work for 2 or 3 months, dude, we get a lot of shit done. We would get a lot done. So there's something to that.
All right, so I'm not the most knowledgeable, right, of the political areas. So like, since you've been in this current office, like what have you gotten done or accomplished? Or,
you know, look, I can tick off a few little things that we've gotten done that I believe are meaningful.
Yeah.
But order of magnitude, they're not as big as the battles that we're fighting. In other words, look, no surprise, I'm a Democrat. People, you know, not a lot of Republican beat makers out there. But
you never know, it might be the future.
There's a few, I'm sure. You know, that Montana trap scene is up and coming. But I'm a Democrat in Texas, right? I mean, I'm outnumbered 2-1 in the House, and it's about the same thing in the Texas Senate. So a lot of what I do is play defense. There's some terrible idea that comes from the other side, usually from some lobby group or think tank, and all these guys are scrambling around to make it happen because that's how they stay in office. And me and folks on my side of the aisle are spending a lot of our time trying to stop it and keep it from happening. I mean, in large part, that's my job right now, is to be a defensive player.
Damn.
Which is hard, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to come home. Well, first of all, you want to do a bunch of things, but you're not doing them because you're playing defense.
Yeah.
But then you're coming home and you're like, hey, I made sure nothing happened. I successfully preserved the status quo. Like, that's not a sexy message, right? That's not
selling that. Yeah.
That's not a re-elect Diego slogan. Make sure nothing gets done. But that's the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is that there's a lot of defense that's being played to keep bad things from happening. Now, there are some good things that we did. A good example, I think the one I'm most proud of right now is I visited all the schools in my district, all the public schools. There's about 55, and I sat down with the principals and teachers like this for a couple hours and just sort of said, tell me what I need to know. What are we doing that's helping? What are we doing that's hurting? What do you wish we knew? What are we getting wrong? It was really, I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned, which I already knew, but they kind of packaged it different for me, is that there are lots of things affecting kids in our community that are not academic, but they affect academics, like hunger, right? Or homelessness. Families doubled or tripled up into one house or apartment, that kind of stuff. So one of the ones that stuck with me was hunger, and I learned that in the cafeteria, all these schools have these meals that are prepared, and then after a certain point, if no one eats part of the meal, and I'm not talking about the hot dog, I'm talking about the granola bar, the juice, the peel top cereal.
Yeah.
They throw it away. They're throwing away hundreds of pounds of food weekly.
Damn.
At the same time, at the schools, there are kids who are hungry, and because of the rules and the law, they couldn't give those kids that food. Right?
Damn. So
in the same building, you've got a bunch of hungry kids and excess food, and you can't connect the two. It's just crazy to me, right? And I remember thinking, like, what year is it? Like, how do we not know that this is an issue and needs to be solved? So we passed a law, without getting into details, that now allows the school to connect this leftover food with these kids.
All right.
Right? Is it the biggest deal in the world? No. But
it affects people, yeah.
Yeah, is the state of Texas education a lot different? Probably not. Is it going to help some kids? Yeah. Did we solve or try to solve a long-standing problem? Sure. Should there be some benefits to that effort realized in the classroom? Possibly, right? So I'm proud of that. And we work really hard on it, and it means a lot to me just because of the hunger that I saw and the stories I heard when I was there. But are we changing the way we fund public schools? No. Are we making sure that schools on one side of town are better than the other side of town? No. So you know what I mean? The magnitude is different, but given the environment, I'll take what I can get and then keep charging and fight another day. Just keep at it. Stamina. That's the one thing that everybody needs. Just keep hitting it.
How does one attain that stamina? That endurance factor to keep going?
Drink a lot of Scott. No, I'm just kidding.
For those under 18, what do they do? They
No.
just wait.
Come on. I'm allowed to joke, right? I'm the wrong person to ask because I've only been at the job for 3 years or so. I think that you have to remember that you're not alone.
Yeah.
I think that there are lots of issues that we could chase after that are not partisan, where you will find people who agree with you on both sides of the aisle. And if those things are really meaningful, if it's not just political BS, if you can identify something that can really make a difference and you can find a way to make it nonpartisan, then yeah, grab these guys from the other side, grab the red folks and try to get it done, because at the end, if it helps people, it helps people. And the optics and the politics don't matter. So I sort of get energized by that exercise, like trying to figure out how to make it happen. How can I present it in a way that gets support, and also recognize that if you stop trying, then you're doing people a disservice. You should just step aside and let someone else do it. I'm not one of these people who believe that, well, if I wasn't here, then it'd be a mess. No, there's plenty of good people who live here who could do this job. I'm honored to do it. It's not lost on me that it's a big responsibility to be chosen by people to do it. So that's also another part of it. Is remember, like, don't get used to it. Remember that it's an honor, that people have chosen you. They could just as easily not choose you and choose someone else. And so make their vote and that effort they took to vote for you, make it count. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're not entitled to this. No one owes me this. So I think that's also part of it. Just staying, stay with the people, stay with the folks, and they'll keep you straight.
All right.
The people who this is an identity for them, like it's who they are, and they don't know who they are outside of this, those are the ones to be afraid of. Because those are the people who will do anything to stay here. Right? Because they don't know what to do with themselves otherwise. Those are the scary ones.
Hey, let me ask one fun one, and then I'll get to the life questions, because I know we're under time, so I want to get those through.
I'm good.
Just real quick, what DAW do you use for making music?
Mostly Ableton.
Okay.
Mostly. I started off with Reason, which I think is... We had this conversation when we were at the movies, right?
Okay, it was with you. I thought Ernest was talking about some of this. Yeah.
but I love Ableton.
Yeah.
Because you can do everything. But I feel like my music might have been better when I had more limitations.
Yeah.
When I had to be more creative about the way things were cut up and put together. Ableton, I think, has made me start to think of the world in loops. Right?
Yeah.
In loops where...
Well, you can almost argue that's a different limitation. the loop.
well, because before, when I had a like a workstation and it had limited memory.
Yeah.
To make things fit, you would have to pitch up or pitch down to slow it down or speed it up. And in Ableton, you can just keep it exactly as it is and make it all fit. It has to be sort of a conscious decision to do that, as opposed to stumbling upon something that actually sounds cool. Like, that's the hard part for me, is that so much of the music making is discovering things by tinkering with it. And Ableton, God bless him, but I mean, you can just take something and it's exactly as it is. So I love Ableton. I love Reason. Reason's for smart people.
I used to always say, like, when we first all started out, a lot of us started with Reason, but then they never adapted, so we all moved on, whether it be Ableton, Cubase.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the people who did stick with Reason were primarily keyboard players, because if you favored a lot of the analog synths, like, it was the only thing that really had plug-in racks and all that stuff.
Yeah, Reason, I think, is more for people who are real musicians, right? I mean, if you're using a lot of audio,
yeah,
right? If you're manipulating audio, Reason wasn't very friendly to people who sampled. It just wasn't. I mean, you could
not
do
in the
it,
beginning, man. You had to force that NXT to do things.
but also even if you cut something up, you'd cut it up and you have to sort of load it up one by one into the sampler, and it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Ableton was like, hey, if I was around when DJ Shadow was making music, he would have used me. Like, that's sort of the way that they present themselves. It's all audio.
Yeah.
And in some ways, there's a very sort of meager synthesizer component, and that's all about plugins with Ableton. So,
you ever thought about switching back to get those limitations, or switching to another thing you don't even know?
The thing about Reason that I love the most is I have a preset. That is the mastering suite. It's the mastering suite, the distortion plugin, or rack, and then the recording console.
Okay.
And I could create a really warm, bassy sound that just was gorgeous to me, and I can't replicate that in anything else. So I like the way my music sounds, but it doesn't sound like the music I made when I was on Reason. And so to me, that sound might be worth all those other frustrations.
You can always just dump it in treat Reason as a VST. You can always do that.
Yeah, but I also think that I need that distortion. I mean, I need that preset even when I'm auditioning sounds. Like, what does a single snare drum sound like that through that? What does a single kick drum sound like it?
Yeah.
So it's responsible for all of the EQing and the sort of more minute, like the little things that you do that you spend hours on. Like, how much reverb? 3.5 or 3.75. Or, like all those things matter. So if I go back to Reason, it'll be for that.
Okay.
If I make, now I'm in my 40s. I've got a daughter.
How's she doing, by the way?
She's good. Yeah, thanks for asking. She's awesome. But another record's going to be
you'll find time.
Another record
it
will be
might not be next year, but you'll find time.
But I also,
we always do.
But what's been really hard is that before, when I was making music, I was the civil rights attorney who made music.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And people liked the music, and they were into the music, and it did really well, and it went all over the place. And then since I was switching to politics, the politics part. So I guess over here I was really more of the beat maker who also happened to be a lawyer. And now I'm like I'm the politician who has this weird thing he does, which is make music, and it's made me feel more like a novelty. Like, people are less interested in the music itself and more about the sort of uniqueness or weirdness of this guy who looks like this and dresses like this, who makes music. It's almost like the political part has become almost a challenge, like an obstacle.
Yeah.
So I have not enjoyed that part.
Well, you could be the guy who normalizes it for the next generation.
Next generation of beat making politicians.
But all right, let me try to take you through as many of these. I call these like the life questions.
All right.
As we can. What is one thing you believe? I always forget the word and see if I find it. But what is one thing you believe that everybody thinks you're crazy for believing?
The one thing I believe everybody thinks
that you believe it, but maybe everybody thinks you're crazy for believing that thing.
Um, this is gonna sound really cliche, but I believe that we can fix public education
All right. I understand why people think.
because it's like the one thing that everyone's resigned to the fact that it can't be fixed.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
"Oh, it's like this is kind of as good as it gets. Let's just do it this way. We'll keep kind of working around the edges to make things better here or there. We'll have a charter school here or a scholarship fund there." But I think that we're still capable of systemic change. So everybody thinks I'm nuts.
All right. What is your goal in life?
I don't know, to leave the world a better place than I found it. Now with the baby more so than before. I don't know if it's up to me to decide the magnitude of that, but
That's your first kid, right? I feel like you always hear that changes a person. Would you say so?
yeah, it definitely changes you. I think because I had her older, I had, a couple decades to really think about it. But what surprised me is that I fully recognize that when you have your own kid, it makes you really focus on that child and nothing else matters. I get that instinct. I have that instinct. But it's been interesting in that she's also made me think more about other kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Because what affects her also affects others in her. Same.
but also I it's not fair, but I sort of use her as a comparator, right? So, like one day, maybe in her 6th or 7th week, we had to take her to the doctor. Turned out everything was fine, but she's so young and fragile,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're nervous about it. So we took her to the doctor, and I've got pretty good insurance, and my wife, if I couldn't have any, she has pretty good insurance. I remember sitting there in the waiting area, and all of a sudden I'm looking at her, and you're freaked out, but at the same moment I realize there are some parents who can't do this, right?
Yeah.
They can't do this. Yeah, they can wait until it gets really, really bad and maybe go to the emergency room. But with a 7-week-old, it's not a good idea,
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying is like she's making me think about where other kids are and how unfair that is. Like how unfair that a parent has to. And I already got it before, but I really get it now. Like how unfair is it that a parent has to have those kinds of considerations? They've got a sick 7-week-old baby, and they're wondering how much worse they have to let it get before it's worth taking the kid in because they don't have insurance or they can't afford to pay for the medical services.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's making me look at the plight or
Yeah.
the situation of other kids too.
I almost feel like that might have inadvertently answered the next question, because the next question is like, who do you have compassion for? And it's like, boom, you just kind of answered it.
Yes, I have compassion for everybody. I get paralyzed by not knowing what to do. Like you're driving, you see someone on the street, little cardboard sign in their hand. What do you do? I don't know what to do. Do I give them a quarter? Sure. I mean, I don't mind giving them money. I just feel like, yeah, I'm a good person. I'm a compassionate person. Look at how nice I am. I care about people, all this other bullshit. But I'm driving past those people every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't always know what to do. And I'm frustrated by that because I'm a nice person because I write bills to help kids, or I'm a nice person or a good person because I have these existential moments thinking about my daughter and healthcare and other kids. But I'm also driving past those people every day and not doing anything. So I struggle with that. You know, I mean, I think we all do, but I think our capacity for good is greater than we allow it to be, and I'm not sure I've tapped enough yet.
All right. What are 3 things you're thankful for in life?
I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for their health. I have really amazing friends, and I'm very proud of the people that I surround myself with. I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for all these opportunities that have sort of fallen into place that allow me to do something that I care about and is meaningful. You know, so the fact that I have options and that choice,
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of that because I recognize that for other people in my family, just do what they got to do. You know, it's like your options are pick the job that is the most steady and where you can make the most money, and that's it. It doesn't really matter what it is,
Yeah.
right? There's no preference. There's no like, editorial control. I have to make money. I've got to put food on the table. What's the job that's the most secure so I can make the most money possible? That's what I'm going to do. It does not matter what it is. I don't have to think about those things. So I'm appreciative of them for doing it, and I'm appreciative that I have the ability, the privilege to choose.
I feel like this is probably the weirdest thing you'll ever be asked in a interview, but what is one person that you would want to forgive, and vice versa, one person that you want them to forgive you, and if you can say why?
One person I would want to forgive.
Yeah.
I feel like all of the big forgiving in my life has been done. You know, for a long time, my dad and I,
Like friction there.
he wasn't around when I was growing up. I mean, my parents were divorced. He didn't ghost us. We grew up apart.
Yeah.
I grew up apart from him. And I think there's a lot of anger and resentment and all kinds of that sort of young man, distant father stuff. But by the end, before he passed, we'd worked it all out. It was cool. So there's the people who've done things to me that are wrong or bad. I don't hold on to it too much. Like the worst thing that anyone's ever said to me, like the most hurtful thing anyone's ever said to me was said by an ex-girlfriend right after my dad died. Like in an argument, she invoked his name in the worst way, and I recognize now that, and it's confirmed. Like she's depressed, she's bipolar. Right? It's all good.
Yeah.
It's cool. So I guess I don't think a whole lot about the things that people have done to me. I kind of just chalk it up to a moment in time or a flash of emotion. And who would I want to be forgiven by? There are a group of friends that I've had. I've been a bad friend to some people. Like there's some folks from college that I lost touch with because there was a moment where my life was sort of going in a weird path and I was kind of embarrassed. And so I kind of ducked away because everyone's life was progressing in this sort of natural upward trajectory and mine wasn't. And I kind of hid. And then by the time I realized how stupid that was, I'd been away from so long that I resisted kind of reaching out again. And so I lost really good friends, people that I cared about very much, who are amazing folks. I was a shitty friend to them. And so there's that. And then that's also true for, there are some kids in my family that I should be a better fill in the blank to, godfather,
Yeah.
uncle, whatever. I wasn't so good at that. I kind of recognize what a big screw up that was now that I have my own kid.
Yeah.
So at some point,
All right. Where do you and I feel like we alluded to this before, but because you're very present minded, but where do you see yourself in 3 years?
in 3 years,
Yeah.
here, same thing with a 3-year-old.
Time will happen to all of us.
Yeah, I don't see any big changes
Okay.
in 3 years. Hopefully, I've figured out how to work out and lose a little weight. Otherwise,
I always tell everybody, and you might be hard pressed for time, but and obviously I'm not into shape right now, but I did it once before when I was very heavy. If you walk every day for an hour, like that's not gonna get you the 6-pack or any of that, but it'll get you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
get
yeah.
you decent looking.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. I'm with it.
Yeah. What is the perfect day?
Okay, I have not been asked that. A lot of these have not been asked that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, these days it's just a quiet day at home with the family. Some really good combination of really, really good food, really good music, and probably a good movie. Everybody happy and healthy. It's perfection right now.
All right. Where does the will to carry on come from for you? Does it come from within? Does it come from a higher power? It's a type of family.
I would say, yeah, all of the above. It's all combination of, duty, drive, guilt, all that stuff.
Duty, drive, and guilt.
Yeah, it's my next album.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
All right, and this is the last one for this. This one called I Wish, I Wonder. I like that I did. I wish I had done. I wonder what would have happened if.
I like my second album.
The rest, not so much. Just the second.
I wish I had waited longer
For what?
to work on it more and
okay.
put it out. And I wonder, this is true for all my music, I wonder what would happen if I was more patient. I take so long to put the songs together, and then I kind of give myself an internal deadline, and then I start rushing to get something finished. And a lot of times I listen to it, and all I can hear are the things that I wish I had done, or this music, you can tinker with it forever.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you just gotta put it away. Like,
Yeah.
this is done. But I can hear impatience in some of it, like the desire to get something finished or to move on. I can't work on 4 or 5 songs at once. It's got to be this one.
Yeah.
until
I'm the
it's
same,
done.
pretty much.
And so I can hear. There's one album that's made with a bunch of music I'd made over a long period of time. We sort of picked the ones we like the best and put it together. Everything since then is new music that's been made for the purpose of putting that record out.
Yeah.
And so there's a quality to it that I really, really love. It's warm and it's thoughtful, but there's another part of it where I hear there's something I couldn't get quite right. And I was like, that's cool. Because I didn't know what it was. So I wonder, like, are these songs finished? Or if I'd given myself another week or two per song, because I get to work on my 50-minute spurts, right? Like, would they be the same as they are, or would they be different or better? But, you sort of do what you can.
For sure. So yeah, technically we kind of done, but I want to ask, how would the normal person who's not in office, they're just living their day-to-day life, like, how do they get involved or politically or do this besides the obvious answer, vote, go vote?
Yeah, you know what?
You
I
know?
think people get asked that question a lot, and we always give these terrible answers like you should vote, or
Yeah.
join an organization. No, I would say what I like was when people reach out to me and say, either this is a problem I have, I'd like you to try to fix it, or tell me what you've done. In other words, I I think that they should reach out to the people who represent them and let them know what they think is working and not working. Let them know, or ask them saying, hey, this is an issue. What are you doing about it? Create that relationship. Because what that does is that makes sure that we are focusing on the things that matter and not this other crap.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crap out there. There's a lot of like Hollywood politics, right? But people, like you said, they live their life. And if we're not doing anything that affects their life, then nothing we do really matters.
Yeah.
That's sort of my metric.
Yeah,
I tell the staff, if they can't feel it at home, it didn't count. It's like Buddhism, right? Right? So I would say to either reach out to the representatives, whoever it is, on city council, state rep, whoever, and say, this is an issue I care about. I want you to work on it. I want updates. Or to say, this is an issue I care about. Can you tell me what you're doing about it? Creating that relationship, I think, that's the best way to get involved, is sort of like to remember that you're the boss. Not go join an organization, or you can do all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, if you think about it, when we say that, we're kind of saying, do things that'll help us.
Yeah.
Stay in office. And that's not the point. The point is, go talk to your employee and ask them what they're doing. I think that creates a relationship between the two people that's really good also. So some of the people I can depend on the most in the job are the ones who came to me with complaints, because I know they're going to be honest with me. Right?
Yeah. So, all right, where can the people find you?
They can find me anywhere.
The Google works.
I do. I mean, the music is available on SoundCloud, on Bandcamp, on Amazon, on Google Play, on Apple, on Spotify. I think there's one album on Pandora, maybe. Politically, I do all my own social media. So if you write to me and someone writes back, it's me.
You see it, yeah.
And I have the same handle for everything. It's at Diego Bernal TX. It's super easy. It's my name in TX. So that's, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I told you I'm working on Snapchat.
Yeah,
it's weird to me. Snapchat. And then if you want to contact the office, just Google my name and you'll get it. And I try to be around. I would say that the email is the worst way to get a hold of me. But everything else is better.
All right. And then last words?
No, man, I appreciate it. This is fun. This is interesting. I'm a little coffee, but no, I think that we don't often get a chance to sort of talk about the way that our work and our lives kind of intersect.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's not just like, here's my policy position on this and that's it. So I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you again for doing it. Real quick, you can put what you just said, try doing that on Snapchat. Maybe that's the answer. But yeah, thank you again for doing this. And bake that chicken, smoke that turkey. Boosh. We done.
All right.
When I go to sleep, I dream of red suns in the bed. No, that makes no sense, and you're the only one that probably cares. Lately, little Teddy's been turning into nightmares, gnashing teeth and sharp claws, violent, and I'm always scared. She's got a fake boyfriend. He lives in LA. Says she met him online. I mean, what else can I say? Said he'll visit next May, but that's hard to believe, cause he works in a cafe and playing tickets ain't free. Says he's in school, he's doing big things. He'll be the best welder this world's ever seen. God, I sound like an asshole. I don't mean to be mean. It's just when we talked, you had bigger dreams. I know, I drag my feet and did you wrong. No one on this earth deserves the weight upon my love this long. I never told you sorry, so I gotta put it in the song. My nightmares, they haunt me. I know, I drag my feet and did you wrong. No one on this earth deserves the weight upon my love this long. I never told you sorry, so I gotta put it in the song. My nightmares, they haunt me. When I go to sleep, I dream of red sun and the bears. I know that makes no sense to you. The only one that probably cares. Lately, little things did turning into nightmares. Now she teaches truck clubs, violent, and I'm always scared. She's got a fake boyfriend. He plays in a band. Parents say he's too old. They just don't understand. To get married's the plan, but she wants a ring. And he works at a cafe, and them things ain't free. Yeah, I know he's in school. He's doing big things. He'll be the best plumber this world's ever seen. I know I'm being an asshole, but all I can do is be mean. 1,000 miles away, and he's more there than I could ever be. I know, I drag my feet and did you wrong. No one on this earth deserves to wait upon my love this long. I never told you sorry, so I gotta put it in the song. My nightmares, they haunt me. I know, I drag my feet and did you wrong. No one on this earth deserves to wait upon my love this long. I never told you sorry, so I got